Hold on for a second. What's up, YouTube family? I would like you guys to make sure you like and subscribe to our video. It would help us get into the algorithms so we could be seen and bring more engaging content to you guys. So, like I said, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Appreciate you. Like we've always been talking about on this podcast, we are NBA guys for the most part. And hey, man, we talked about the starters, and now we're going to be talking about the NBA All-Star reserves. So I think the reserves are getting revealed Thursday. I want to say on TNT is when they're coming out. Pretty sure that's somewhere. It's always on that TNT Thursday night game.
TNT Thursday.
Yeah.
Yep. Usually
so I wanted to ask the guys who their setup of their reserve teams and who are their couple of their wild cards are going to be. And Joe, I'm gonna let you start this one off.
Man, I'm gonna start all easy. Let's start in the West, man. Let's start in the West because I feel like the West a little in the East. I could see a lot of debate between.
It's a lot of discussion. I feel like in the East.
There's a lot of discussion, but in the West, for me, I got a couple of locks, man. Chef Curry, Devin Booker. That's my backcourt right there. Okay. Forwards, Anthony Davis, who's been having a tremendous season. He's actually healthy this year. Like he's actually playing a lot of regular season games. He's been pretty dominant. So shout out to AD for staying healthy. Another guy that's staying healthy, Kawhi Leonard, man. Kawhi Leonard staying healthy, having a terrific season, and the Clippers are having a great season. And another guy that's staying healthy, Paul George, man. I'm putting so I got 3 LA guys at the forward position right there. So 80, Kawhi, PG, D-Book, and Chef Curry as my first 5 bench guys. And my wild cards, Ant-Man. You know Ant-Man's got to be in there, man. Ant-Man's having an all-time season. His team's having an all-time season. And the last guy for me, I love this guy. This guy should have been an all-star a couple seasons ago. He was an all-star last year. De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
I'm putting my boy Fox in, man, because this guy shows up in the regular season, shows up in the playoffs. Best player on the Sacramento Kings, man. So for me, those wild cards, lock and loaded. Ant-Man and De'Aaron Fox.
All right, Zoo. In the West, Anthony Edwards and Booker are my 2 guards. I got him over Curry for record only. You saw that game last night against the Thunder?
Okay, yeah.
Pretty solid game, man.
Yeah.
And closing it out with that and should have been and one dunk there at the end of the game. Oh, just man, he's ridiculous. That's no
he is.
Curry. Curry's in my wild card spot. He's a legacy no matter what. He's just not in that LeBron potential final year, a lock of a starter, where they're going to feed him that. But I agree. I got Anthony Edwards, Booker, and Curry in general. I also do have De'Aaron Fox as my other wild card with Curry. And now the backcourt, man. I wanted to see if you'd mention this guy because you put in. I have one difference. I don't have Paul George in mine. I put Rudy Gobert in, man. I put Rudy Gobert in there.
Wait a minute. Go ahead, my bad.
13 and 13 on 65% shooting, 2 blocks a game, a steal on the best team in the West. He's Defensive Player of the Year. Draymond Green gets tapped every year in the past because he was always up for Defensive Player of the Year potential. You're telling me, come on, so Paul George, he's averaging 23 a game, man. All right, that's cute, man. That on a Clippers team, James Harden might be the second most important player on that team. I thought you were going to put him.
No, he's just the second most. Yeah, he's second most.
You can make that argument. I give you that.
So he's not even the second best player on his team potential this year. Sure, maybe talent wise at this age, maybe. But man, he's not even the second best. So I got to put Gobert in. I'm going to reward the top team in the conference with 2. They're not worthy of starters, not even close. But I am going to put Gobert in there just because. Look, man. Every team, even in the All-Star game, you need a little defensive presence, a little, fun shot blocking. Come on, man. He'll be the last pick.
Listen, why when I was making my list, I put on the side of like other guys who like I was debating who to go in, and I was like, like Gobert was like the second guy of list of guys like who's not going to be like who's probably not going to make my list. But I was like, it wouldn't shock me if like Gobert gets in because I think he's playing really well defensively. And when I saw your face when Zoo was going through this list, I said, I bet you he has Gobert. I said, I bet he has Gobert, and I was right. That's why I had that reaction. I was like,
so that's the only
difference. Put Gobert in there.
Yeah. So I got Ant over Curry as like the non-wild card, right? And then I got Gobert in over PG. But otherwise, because I had Kawhi over KD in my starters, but KD got it, so Kawhi was my first lock, obviously. And Anthony Davis I also have in there as well to round out the forwards.
So for me, I had the same way you had it. People was like D-Book and Anthony was my guards. I had Kawhi, Anthony Davis, Paul George is my forward, even though you didn't have Paul George. And it was Steph Curry and De'Aaron Fox is like my wild cards. Only thing I was thinking about was like, I wonder like eventually like, you know, the Shingun and like some of those other up and coming like Marketing. Like I think Marketing maybe been hurt, but those guys are going to be interesting going forward in the West because Utah, I'm not sure, but in Houston, probably not sure, probably not at all in the next couple of years. But you know, losing is going to impact them a lot. But I think those two guys, like in the front court, are going to be interesting selections going forward because they're super talented. Like they're guys I'm looking at. You know, like they wasn't. I mean, Marketing was probably closer than Sengun in terms of just like he's going to make an all-star team. But I was just looking like, man, they're
a great year.
You know, they're like track in terms of like what they're going to be in the league looks really good. So, and you know, Chet and all those guys are going to be coming up too. But, I mean, it's the same as you. Like to me, like the guards are that. You know, Anthony Edwards is going crazy. Like at one point early in the season, I was looking at Anthony Edwards like maybe he could be a starter, but you know, once Shea Gilgeous and Luka started going off, like you kind of nipped that in the bud. But you know, that's the same type of guys I got. So, Zoo, who do you have for the East? Which I think is going to be a little bit different in terms of
no, the East. There's some guy like it happens every year. In the West, like these guys are like, yeah, these guys are automatic. But in the East, I gotta reach a little on some of these guys, just a little. But for me, the guards, no reaching needed. Jalen Brunson, who I thought should have been a starter.
Yes.
Jalen Brunson,
Damian Lillard, no.
I love Dame Dollar, but based on value to your team and stats, Jalen Brunson is having a better season than Damian Lillard. So fans like Damian more, so he makes it in. Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell. That's the backcourt. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I believe you had Donovan Mitchell as your starter. So these guys are absolutely exactly. So I think these guys are locked at the backcourt. For the forward position, I got to shout out to this guy, Bam Adebayo, man. Bam Adebayo, this guy's a two-way guy, and he's leading. He's the point center of this team, defensive anchor of this team, and he's just always there. And now his scoring level, like he's getting like pretty
he's 20 now,
20 points. Like he went from a guy that had low and more in the 15, 16, 17 range, but is up to scoring level, and he's still got that defense and still a really good passer for a big. I got him as my first forward. That's a lot. And these other two forward sections, I had to think a little harder. Just a little harder because a couple of these guys, the first guy I don't really like that much. But I am just going to do it because the Celtics got that record. So I'm putting in Jaylen Brown as my other forward position. Jaylen Brown, my goodness, the handles still suck ass. Like I don't know what he does in the offseason. I don't know what he does in the offseason, but he's still a two-way.
I think he trains for it. It's just not his strong suit.
I don't see him getting better. He looks like the same player every single year. Like I don't think this guy's gotten better in the last 3 years.
He's Zach LaVine.
Yeah, he's like Zach LaVine, but he's a better defender. He's a better defender.
Oh, yeah, that.
Like my God, like in this one, I'm like, okay, if he doesn't even make it, like I don't even mind if he doesn't make it at all because I'm not even a big Jaylen Brown fan, but. When you're putting up 22, 5, and 4 on the number one seed in the East, I'm going to put you at one of the four
number
position.
Number one seed in the East matters.
Yeah, so I'm going to give the Celtics 2 All-Stars because I think they deserve 2 All-Stars. And my other forward position, first timer from the Orlando Magic, Paolo Banchero, man. This is a guy I'm like, this is a rising star because he's on like now this Orlando team. We went from like last year from a cute star. Okay, now they're 500, so they're average now. They're an average basketball team. They're going to be fighting for the 8th, 7th, and 9th seed. They're going to be in that range of the play-in tournament. And Paolo Banchero, one thing he's gotten a lot better at, 3-point shooting, man. You got to be able to shoot threes in the modern era. And Paolo Banchero has increased his stats significantly from last year. Last year, he was a sub 30%.
Is he 37?
Yeah, now he's at 36 now this year.
36, okay.
So that's and that's on I would say pretty high volume, like 4 attempts a game. That's pretty good volume. Ain't like shooting 1 a game. Like those percentages are fake, but over 4 threes a game. This guy's up his field goal percentage. He's still not the most efficient guy at 45%, but he's gotten better from last year. So efficiency-wise, gotten better. But the most impressive thing about him, 5 assists. He's a 6'10" power forward wing guy, averaging 5 assists a game as a point forward type guy, and still putting up 23 points a game along there. Like 23, 5, and 7. Like,
and they don't have a point guard, Zoo.
Yeah,
Marco Fultz hasn't been playing.
Yeah, you got Cole Anthony, all like Jalen Suggs.
Suggs is not.
I thought Suggs would be a lot better in the NBA. Yeah, like none of these guys are pure like point guards on this roster, like lead guards. It's more like a couple of point forwards with Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero as primary ball handlers. And Paolo Banchero's leading this team to 500. Shout out to Orlando Magic from being absolute garbage to being average now. So I'm going to put Paolo Banchero in as a first-time All-Star there. Wild card, man. Ooh, one of them is a bit of a reach. But I think one of them that's a lock for me is Tyrese Maxey. He's having a career season. I'm telling you, when I saw this boy in the playoffs a couple of years ago, this guy was a big-time performer, and now he's taken the throne as the second option, the Jamal Murray role in the offense led by Joel Embiid, averaging 25 points a game as the secondary option, lead ball handler, primary wing perimeter scorer. So Tyrese Maxey, for me, that's an easy wild card selection. The next one, this one I gave a lot of thought because I'm like, if he doesn't make it, I'm like, okay, whatever. I wouldn't care at all. But I'm still going to put in Ice Trae, man. Ice Trae is going to get in just based on pure volume and numbers.
Thank you, Zoo. Appreciate it, Zoo.
I'm putting him in on pure volume and numbers because this guy is still a tremendous passer, still averaging 27, 28 points a game, still getting his 9 to 10 assists a game, even though the team is not even in the play-in tournament. That's kind of depressing. Because if you look on Vegas odds, they were in the 500 area. So they're performing below average based on expectations. But Ice Trae, like, he still got it's not like he's playing with a bunch of bums because he got DeJounte Murray, who's still a very good player, like Bogdanovich. Like, it's still a real roster. And they're winning 19. Like, that's just embarrassing. So
DeJounte's got a good fit with him, though.
Yeah, that's what they're looking to. But still, he's still a very good player. So you can't be saying his team is complete garbage. You can't say his team is garbage.
No, it's not. He's got dudes. So, Jalen Johnson's good too.
Yeah, so like
they're
talent-wise, they are underperforming. Their defense is awful. Just gave up 70 points to Luka Doncic. So like this team, man, this team, Ice Trae, man. If he doesn't make it because of his team record, I totally get it. But I'm gonna squeeze in Ice Trae, man. Just squeeze him in at that.
Wow,
thank you, Zoo. Appreciate that.
He was the one. I know you like Trae Young. I know he's an Atlanta guy. I know. 42%.
Yeah,
42%. And he's probably one of the worst defensive guards.
Oh,
I mean, he's 5'9", 169 pounds. I mean,
I know. Then admit it. Then just be like, yeah, I suck. Yeah. This is why we're bad. You know, they don't play defense. But, look, it doesn't take away from his talent. Reminds me a lot of who's the young guy on the Rockets? Jalen Green?
Yeah, Jalen Green.
Dude, he just jacks the shots.
He's just a gunner.
And a lot of these guys, they idolize the Trae Youngs of the world. He's really just a less polished Steph Curry. That's really what he is.
I don't know. His passing is. He's an elite passer.
He's a passer. Curry, I feel like.
Curry actually tries on defense, and he's
Curry's a lot bigger too and strong.
Yeah, he's bigger.
He's like small, like physically weak too. So
he's not 5'9". I was just joking. If anybody tried to take that serious, who's listening, but he's like probably 6 foot, 180. Like he's
he's very miniature. Miniature. Steph Curry's a little bigger.
All right, here we go. So we got our locks at guards, Brunson and Mitchell. Easy locks right there. Bam Adebayo and Paolo Banchero on the forwards. Agree on both of those. Yep. Bam Adebayo is kind of really taking over this team. And I think his handling of the offense more, and I know you hate this guy. We love to bash on him. But with no Kyle Lowry, he's been asked to just facilitate more. Listen. Because when Lowry's in the game, they are going to make him play point guard, right? Yeah. When he was in the game, even though he wasn't the best point guard at that age, they were going to give him the ball. The ball was in his hands. Now they can put it more in Bam's hands, and they can just run their offense. So he's been playing out of his mind this year. Banchero, the other thing, Zoo, no other player on that team is averaging 4 assists. So no one's really moving the ball around. No one's passing it. He's either isoing or he's creating for his teammates, maybe getting the ball back around on a screen play, and he's getting good shots. My other forward, though, I have Jaylen Brown as a wild card, and it wouldn't be surprising. But this guy's been hot the last month or so. Julius Randle, man. Julius Randle. Look at his stats. 24-9, 5 assists on 47% shooting. That's actually pretty good for him. He's been historically extremely inefficient, takes way too many jump shots. He's benefiting from Brunson, and I think he's benefiting, and he's actually playing pretty well defensively this year without Mitchell Robinson, right? So I don't know. I'm tapping Julius Randle. There were just so many names you could throw Kristaps Porzingis in there, but he hasn't really played enough. But he's been pretty crucial to that Celtics team.
Oh, he's very important. Very important. Yeah, defensive.
But and then you look at kind of record wise, looking at some other teams. I wasn't going to tap any Bulls guys, and so on downwards. right? They don't deserve it, which is why I didn't put Trae Young in there. So yeah, I got Julius Randle. I just said, he's coming on really strong lately, and they're just a better team overall. And then lastly, I also got Tyrese Maxey there. You got to give him the nod, man. He's just been playing out of his mind the past couple of years, and it's finally come to fruition for him. And then Jaylen Brown wrapping it up, getting that second nod as the best team in the league, I believe. Yeah, so Julius Randle over Trae Young is really the only difference there.
Okay.
But if Julius is a wild card, would not be surprised if Jaylen Brown gets that last forward position.
I'm pretty sure that, and Julius is hurt. So I mean that's part. I don't know if he's going to actually play in the All-Star weekend, but he can still get elected. But I don't know if he'll play.
Just have Silver, just pick a replacement.
Yeah, pick a replacement. But I'm with. I have the same list as Zoo. I was kind of debating like maybe the only like forward guy like I was looking at until I looked at their record was Scotty Barnes, because I remember Toronto got off to like a really hot start, and Scotty Barnes like is averaging 20, like I think he's like 8 rebounds. He's shooting like, talk about his shooting numbers with Paolo. Like last year he was like 20 something percent. Now he's at like 31, or not 31, but like 36, 35. And I think starting the season he was at like 39%. And he's kind of proven he's the franchise guy. That's why Siakam was so easy to part ways with. But like I said, Boncaro, how he's rode, because at the beginning Franz Wagner was getting a lot of like love, and not to say Paolo Banchero, they were like, oh, Paolo Banchero's behind him, but it's like Franz Wagner was playing really well when they first started, and he's kind of tailed off, and Paolo's just kind of taking that torch, and with the assist total and his ability to score, he's just going to continue to get better, and I love that team. Like we're gonna talk about them probably later, probably next week, in terms of just like NBA storylines because of the gap in between the Super Bowl. But I really like Orlando, and Paolo's the biggest reason for that. And I'm with Yuzu, like Trae Young being my wild card. Team's just not doing well. We all understand that, but like for him to be who he is, like size wise, like he's 6'6", 180, 190. Like he's kind of basically, give or take, he's a 30-10 guy at that size. Like that is like, think about the amount of guys who at that size is a guard. Like that's the main point I want to focus in. Like at that size, because all these other guys that are in the third, like scoring in the 30 range and getting these 10, 12, they're all 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". Like Trae, with the amount of scoring, like how many guys in the league are even doing close to 30 and 10 assists? I don't think there's anybody else is doing that, because I'm looking at it right now. Like Giannis is 30 and 11, but that's rebounds. Like Luka's what? I'm looking right now, 34 and 8. 9. But like I said, he's a 6'7" guard. Like a lot of that stuff, and I'm not saying just because you're 6'7", it's easier for you to play, but it makes it a little bit more malleable. Like you can make more plays when you're that size. Like Trae is different. Like, and if Trae were to ever, it would be interesting, because I don't know. I think he loves Atlanta, and I don't know if he'll ever ask for a trade. But we always say that, and then next thing you know, they end up like James Harden. They ask for trades out everywhere. So we don't know these guys, but I would be so interested to see Trae in like a winning environment. Like if he had like a legit say for Golden State, if like they like Steph Curry got switched out and you had like prime Clay and like prime Draymond, like how would Trae fit? Because I feel like he would get busy, because everybody thinks he's a losing player, which they're losing, so you can't argue it. But it's just like his ability to pass along with score the ball, like. And two, man, you got to also think about Trae. When it's the playoffs, he steps up. He's got a lot of playoff moments. He's got at least 2 or 3, like I wouldn't say iconic. He's got like one iconic playoff.
He had a game winner like that last year against the Celtics.
Like the Celtics. And to me, like that, and I guess that's just why it's ingrained in my head. Like when he's gotten into the playoffs, he's performed. So that's why I've always been like, I know everybody's like, they love to kill the Luka trade, which everybody knows you would pick Luka. We're not arguing that. But you got a hell of a consolation prize with Trae Young. And it's just like, I don't like the DeJounte Murray fit. I don't know. They're probably going to trade him in the summer. But, like, I want to see him, like, in a winning, like, a suit. Like, if he was with the Heat and Jimmy Butler, like.
Yeah, he wouldn't fit in Heat culture.
He wouldn't, because, the Heat culture, you got to. You're not going to be able to get on South Beach. So, he probably wouldn't fit. But. Yeah, like I don't know, just like we'll see. It's who cares about all that, because that's down the road, like banter. But Trae is just like his numbers are crazy. His numbers are crazy.
A little bit, Sean, though. he's got a little bit of a trajectory of. I know that they were probably better earlier, maybe because they did have a better team, but he's on a bit of a Damian Lillard track, man. Loyal to where he was drafted, extremely good scorer, unbelievably clutch in playoffs. Just can't get over the hump. He can't get the entire team together. Yeah. Maybe eventually he will move on, even though he claims, I don't want to leave, blah blah blah, all that stuff.
Yeah, they all say
they're different. They're different players. They're different players. They have, Lillard may hit bigger shots, whatever you want to say, but it just kind of reminds me a little similar of like the unbelievable talent.
Small guards,
small guard.
Lillard's not as good of a passer, but they're both just jacking threes, and they just keep their teams in games. They just can't get over the hump.
Yeah, so I can't. That was my reason. Like, I just can't. A guy that's close to 30 points in tennis, I just can't leave y'all. So, Julius Randle, respect, like I said, he's on a better team and he's playing. I think Brunson is. That's a crime that he did.
They're saying he's only going to be out a couple of weeks. They said with a stinger. So, and a lot of guys too, they just like to go to All-Star weekend and of course.
Anyways, they don't care about the game. As long as they get the nod, that's all. Try to renegotiate. That's all they care about. The game.
Walking boots, they just randomly come off when they're out there. Like, oh, okay, all right,
getting shots up, whatever. But but like I said, I figured the East would be a little bit more contentious in terms of like we might have some different players on there. So. Shout out to the NBA All-Star Game. It's one of my favorite All-Star games. I like watching that weekend. Shout out to Steph Curry and Sabrina Nesco, I think her name is, for the Liberty. They're doing the 3-point shootout. That's going to be really cool.
I don't know if you saw Sabrina when she was in a 3-point contest. She had like one of the highest like percentages.
Yeah, I'm about to say
ever. Like
I'd put some money. I
think
you might put some money on her.
They should just invite Caitlin Clark too. Might as well.
She'll be there soon enough. She'll be there soon enough.
Holy cow, she could shoot.
You want to talk about a game? When they talk about game changers and like how say like when you draft an NBA and you like have like LeBron is an obvious like no brainer. Like Caitlin Clark's going to be an obvious no brainer, and she might actually change the entire WNBA just because of like her ability to get her shot is crazy, and she's got unlimited range. She's different, man.
She's got range beyond NBA range.
Here we go, boys. I think we might need to consider a WNBA segment going forward.
No, listen.
Clark is something special. Like she made me put on a WNBA. Like she would put me on a W. She got me watching a women's college basketball game once. Yep. Like I'm just like, listen, she's one of those superstars.
I have the ultimate cheat code because I went to the University of South Carolina for full disclosure, and our team is like ridiculous. So like I'm gonna always watch that. Like I mean, hell, they could be playing Presbyterian college, a college around here, and I'll still watch them. But yeah, Caitlin Clark, she's a little different. So respect to Asia Wilson. She's also like she plays for the Aces, and she also played for the University of South Carolina. They're different, but the women's game is definitely getting to a point where, you're always gonna have the losers be like, oh, it's not the men's game, whatever. But they're getting to a point where you're missing out if you're not watching it because there's some ballers in the WNBA. There's some ballers in college basketball. Like they got some players. So, shout out to them. And I'm like I said, the 3-point shootout that she's gonna have with Steph Curry. I wouldn't be shocked if like you looked at Vegas, she was like the favorite.
Adam Silver does it again.
That would be crazy, man. That would be insane.
She's good.
Telling you, man, Adam Silver, he's always thinking of new things to keep it fresh. Man.
That's why he got that new contract. That's why he got that little new contract.
Adam Silver got the max extension, man. He got the max.
Nah, he got the max for sure. So, yeah, shout out to them. But, like I said, we're definitely going to be getting some more NBA topics in there because of the All-Star game that's coming up, All-Star Reserve show and things like that. Super Bowl, like I said, we got this dead period in between. So, tune in for different topics we're going to be talking about with that on Tyson Talks _ on Instagram. YouTube page, Quantro Knows. Follow us on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. That gets us in the algorithms. It gets more people listening to us so you can hear us debate about any and whatever. And for me, Zoo, and P-Bush, we are out.